How you doing,
Hi,
Andy?
how are you?
I'm fine. Are you? Sorry, I'm just going to wipe my camera here. The sun came on.
You're a bit hot and sweaty there.
Nah, it sun came on it from earlier. How you doing? You alright?
Yeah, right, mate. That was so efficient. I literally went live and you were there straight away.
I was just on the phone to, have you heard the guy Miguel Miranda from Sporting Lisbon? He's the coach at Sporting Lisbon. He had Ederson and Oblak, so I was just talking to him there. So I didn't realise it was quarter to 8, so I had to get him off. But nah, nice to meet you.
So have I interrupted a chat with a Sporting Lisbon goalkeeping coach there?
I don't think he is anymore now, like.
Isn't it?
But that's what we're talking about. He's brilliant. I've always wanted him as part of our team, and he's brilliant at what he does. So, but I brought through Ederson Oblak in Benfica, and obviously he's been at Sporting Lisbon for the last few years. So he's brilliant at what he does.
Well, mate, thank you very much for hanging up on him straight away.
Ah, it's
Hopefully
okay,
he'll
it's
take the
okay.
call later on.
Nah, he's great. But nice to meet you anyway.
Yeah, you too. I know we chatted a little bit back and forth on social media, but this is the first time actually saying hello. Obviously, I follow your page and I watch what you do and whatnot. So yeah, it's good to good to actually say hello and meet you.
I know, that's it. Oh, you too. It's great what you do yourself, and for us, we've had a great 4 years so far. It's been brilliant. It's a family business. It's 4 brothers and a sister. So it's really good. Love it.
Yeah, so just for the next half hour or so, in between the two football games, we're just going to talk through you and your career, highs and lows along the way, any
Yeah.
lessons that you've learned for the younger kids that are watching, younger goalkeepers. Because, I mean, I think it's got to be the biggest goalkeeping Instagram page on there. But obviously, prior to you starting that, you did have a very successful career as a goalkeeper.
And for me, I've always looked at my career like it's been a massive underachievement. But when I do look back now, I sort of think of it as I maybe overachieved because I had 16 years of playing. I probably enjoyed 5% of it. There's a lot more downs than ups, and I found it really difficult because I put too much pressure on myself, and that's why we've started what we've done to help kids and goalkeepers take the pressure off themselves, and that's why we started this. It's just I struggled. I wish when I was 18, 19, even 26, I had somebody like our business to guide us. And I never had that. There's not one bit of advice I got throughout my career from any goalie coach or anything. And obviously playing at Rangers, you expect that, but I never got it. I never got anything. And we want to be that for young kids now and really guide them and let them know let them know how to be a goalkeeper and the ways to go about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I did all right. I did okay.
yeah, you mentioned your time at Rangers. You had two spells at Rangers. You had 249 appearances in total, and it's amazing listening to that from my aspect. You're saying I actually underachieved or overachieved within that. To me, to be able to be a professional, to be at the top of the game, to play for one of the biggest, if not the biggest club in Scotland, is something to look at with pride.
I know, that's it. It's funny because I struggle with the mental side, and everybody says Rangers is one of the most difficult clubs to play at because the fans are so demanding and it's a hostile place to play. And when I played there, it was a time when the fans hated the players, and I actually dealt with it quite well. I think I played 10 games, 8 games in a row or something, and I did well. I didn't make any mistakes, and I did really well. So it was strange the fact that pressure was the thing I hated the most about being a goalie. But the most pressure I could have played is for Rangers, and that was my best spell of my career. Obviously, I had a great last 4 months at a club in Scotland. My last 4 months of playing, last 5 months I did great. But for me now, it's all about I want to help people and help young players and goalies. And like I say, my career, I spent 95% of it probably down, miserable. So if I can get some keeper to spend 5% less of his career down, then it's been worth every minute for us. So, but I didn't know it was 249 games. But obviously, playing at Rangers is it's like one game at Rangers is better than 100 games for some other clubs, really. But no, like I say, you learn a lot, and I've learned so much, and I want to pass on as much as I can to the young ones.
So taking it right back to where it started for you. Where did it start? When did you start playing in goal? What were you doing as a kid? How was all that?
I think it's 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. I remember being at school, and I loved going out and catching crosses all over the box and taking balls off people's head. And even at school, when we'd go at break time, the teacher would kick the ball in, and then we'd have everyone playing football. And I just used to love diving out and catching balls, and that was always the best part of my game. Crossing, I used to love doing it, and that's what I love to see now. So I've been a goalie since 6, 7 year olds, and then everyone since I was that age always said I was really natural and expected us to be a professional. So, but I think my biggest problem was that I was really naturally talented. I think now, if you look at some of these guys, like you get likes of Oblak, like that sounds daft, but naturally and technically, he's okay. But his biggest strength is he's trained and worked hard as he can, and that's what we want to tell any young goalie now. Talent is absolutely no. It's 5%, less than 5% of being a top goalie. It's not important. You don't need talent to play at the top level. It's about your mentality, physicality, and obviously being calm, isn't it? And I wish somebody had told me, tapped us on the shoulder at 19. I wish somebody had said to us that it's nothing to do with talent.
So when did you first get into the system then? Because you're saying that you were playing in goal from a very young age. People have noticed you. You've been told that you're a good goalkeeper. When did you first get into the professional game then?
Well, obviously I went to Sunderland as a kid, 9 till 12, and then they got rid of us for being too small and having no confidence. So out the door. And then I didn't really want to play really after that. I think the kids shouldn't be anywhere near football clubs till 13, 14 minimum. But I didn't want to play anymore, so I just played with my friends and played locally. And then I went to college for a year, and I had offers from Mansfield Town and Sheffield United were keen. But when I'd been in Glasgow and my dad had worked up there, and then when they came at 17, I left college where I really enjoyed, and I went there and signed there. So 17 as a professional, whereas obviously a lot of kids think you have to be there from 10 all the way through the system. But for me, I think the worst thing you can do is go at a young age. It's actually dangerous. I think you get so many. I think Sunderland might have had, from when I was 10, I think Sunderland might have had thousands of players in the door, and there's probably, I don't know the numbers, but maybe 20 of them might have made a living in the game. Get your high profile ones like Pickford and Jordan Ederson. But apart from that, I don't think there's a massive amount, and how many kids would have been ruined from that and hated football and never want to play it again. So
yeah,
I definitely think I was late 17, but for me, 17, you got 6 or 7 years before you expected to be a first team player as a goalkeeper. So I think 17 is still young, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on there as well. Sunderland said thanks, but no thanks because of your height at the age of 12.
Yeah, that was it. But I was playing at a time it was all about big. Everybody wanted a Peter Schmeichel, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas
I think we're about the same age, so yeah. I mean, Peter Schmeichel was the goalkeeper that
he was never one I used to think, because I love people like Barthez who played and wasn't the most physical and played with talent and timing and nice technique. Schmeichel was more like a big guy, wasn't he? I think his son's a lot more natural goalkeeper. But that's what everybody wanted. And I remember even at 15, my dad spoke Middlesbrough and they'd heard good things about us. And then they heard that I was only 5'10", and they said, I wouldn't look at you unless you were 6'3", 6'4". So that's the attitude. But I think now for any young goalies that aren't as big, I think now's a great time to be a young goalkeeper, because I think it's coming away from being the big guys. I think the one players that can play, who are fast. Like for example, if you played against Man City, what way would you need to be 6'5"? That would hinder you because you can't move as well. So I think playing against Man City, it's through balls, it's cutbacks and stuff like that. So I think you need to be more sharp and also playing with the ball at your feet as well.
So, because you're not the tallest,
No, 5'10" and a half.
So, did you find that your height impacted your career at all?
No, I would never use that. My mentality was my biggest thing. I got the opportunities. I signed at Rangers twice at 5'10" and a half, and they are. I don't think people in England realise, but they're a massive club. And when I was there originally, I think they expected us at 18, 19 to move on to a higher level or like in another country. So I was quite highly thought of, but I got nowhere near it because, like I say, I used to worry and I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to make mistakes, and like I say, the biggest mistake you can make is worrying about making a mistake. And that was my story in my career. But like I say, using this and to help kids, I think we've got something really powerful there.
So when you were playing, did you have any? Because goalkeepers make mistakes. It's going to happen. You know, at some point or the other, you're going to literally throw the ball in your own net. When you made a mistake during a game, what sort of coping mechanisms did you have?
Never had any advice whatsoever my whole career how to deal with stuff. Like when I was 19, I'd made a mistake and I thought it was the end of the world. If a 19-year-old kid, one of my goalies, said to me, now I've made a bad mistake, I would say it's brilliant. You've made it now. What did you learn from it? Take that and don't do it again in 7 or 8 years' time when you're playing for your career and for your family. So I wish I had little advice. I thought making a mistake at 18, 19 was the end of the world. And that's not. You should embrace it and think, I'm glad that happened. So it's not going to happen. I'm going to learn from it and never do it again. And I thought you had to be perfect at 18, 19, 20. I got loaned out from Rangers to a team in the next league down. And I thought I had to go there and be perfect. But they sent me there to make mistakes and learn. So like all this advice, I wish I had it. But I just went there thinking, if I can't play at a team in the next league down, Rangers won't want me back. But the centre's there for a reason. And I didn't know that. I was given no advice, no guidance. And the goalie coach at the time was really wasn't a big help to us, to be honest.
Yeah. Is there anything that we've spoken to a few pros on here, and a few of them have a little something that they do to try and just ignore it, just to forget the mistake while they're playing? Because you can get into that downward spiral, don't you? Make a mistake, then it leads to another one and another one. So one of the ones we heard from a previous goalkeeper was just a strap. Out it goes, strap it back in, that's it. Mistakes done and gone. It's that sort of...
No, just not really. No, I didn't have anything. I could do something at the start of a game and I can just ruin the whole of the game. But what happens is I can ruin the whole of the game, ruin the whole of your weekend, ruin the rest of your week. You take it into the next game, you ruin that one, and next thing you're out of the team, and then you could be losing your job. This is the type of thing where instead of thinking I've done the mistake, it's finished with. Use it, learn from it, and get on with it. But I really struggled with that part, and it was just goalkeeping's not for people like that. You've got to be able to deal with it, and I think football meant too much to me. And I think the biggest thing I can say to anyone now is have something else to run alongside your career. So football's not your everything. It's the worst thing you can do is give everything to football.
So when you're playing, and when you were playing, did it go the other way for you? Did it have to be you make something positive, you do something positive early on, and then you built through the game like that?
I know you cannot rely on your first touch. It's crazy, isn't it? Because you should never be like that. I think the best advice you can give is go into the game and play your way into the game. Earn the right to do the things like go and catch crosses. Earn the right to be able to play nice balls and nice side volleys and that. Don't go into the game thinking I'm going to try to do something important early, because then that'll give us confidence, because it can go the other way. And if you do something bad, it can ruin the game for you. So I think, of course, doing good things gives you confidence, but don't do too much too early and try to get confidence from it.
How did you prepare for games?
Not good enough, because I think all you're in control of as a footballer, as a goalkeeper especially, is how you prepare for a game. You can't change what's going to happen in a game. All you can do is prepare in the best way. And for me, I would tell anyone, work as hard as you possibly can. Don't leave any stone unturned. Be the best person you can. Eat the right foods. And I didn't eat the right foods, and I didn't work hard enough. Nowhere near. I just purely relied on talent. And I used to have this attitude of why do I deserve to be here in this great position of being a footballer when I'm not giving it my all? And that's I've got a lot of regrets in my career, but I would say the biggest one is not giving it my all. A 20-year-old signed a 3-year contract at a great club like Rangers, and I was leaving the training ground at 11:45 to go for lunch in the town where I lived. And you're like, if that was one of my goalies now, I'd give him a clip and say, should be in there till 4:00, working on your left foot, jumping off your right foot. I've got no left hand. I kind of jump off my right leg. My left foot's nowhere near good enough. So it's, like I say, I think there's a lot of guys now about who have similar. They struggle with they can't kick with certain feet. They can't use one hand the same way as the other. They can't jump off the opposite leg. And I think for me now, you want your goalkeeper to be perfect and be the best you possibly can at every part of your game, and you'll have no regrets. Whereas I wish I went into games thinking I've done everything I possibly can, and I'm going to do my best in the game, and what'll be will be, instead of thinking, I wish I went into games thinking I've done everything I possibly can, and I've done everything I possibly can, and what'll be will be, instead of thinking, I've done everything I possibly can, and I'm going to do my best in the game, and what'll be will be. Oh, I wish I did that. Something's going to happen today, and it's a horrible feeling.
Mm. So let's go back to what must be a really momentous time in your career. Was your debut for Rangers? Came on second half sub against Hearts. Talk us through that.
Oh, no, that was unexpected. It was actually Ronald Vataris who was the goalie, and it's funny, Ronald's just got back in touch because he's got his own goalkeeping glove, RW gloves, goalkeeping gloves in Holland, and he got in touch lately. But it was him that I went on for my debut. I think he wanted a stand ovation on his last game before he left, so I think that's why. But now I think he played about 20 minutes, including stoppages and that, and I had a really good game. And you obviously think, oh, this is the start of my career and everything's going to be great. But for me, it was probably the start of the decline at Rangers. I signed a 3-year contract about 6 months after that, and never had a good time after that. So it was a great day, but I never thought I'd have the 3 years after or the 5 years after that I was going to have.
Right. So that's interesting. I would have thought that you'd be kind of talking about how such a quality experience it was. It's your first time stepping out on iBox, but there always seems to be a little bit of. I mean, you mentioned regret.
Oh, massive regrets, but I want to use these regrets to make sure the other lads don't have them. I think what we've got's invaluable, and but for me, it was an amazing day. I remember my dad was up for the game, and even if it was 20 minutes or whatever, I had a really good game. I was kicking it well and catching crosses, and I did really well, even though I was so worried and anxious. But of course, like, it was a great day. I had a great night. Oh, not a great night, but it made us give us a great summer. But then I went back the next pre-season, and the manager had changed, and then he actually gives a 3-year contract. And then there was a change of manager in the December, and then that was the end of my Rangers career. So that's what happens. Like, I'd say goalkeeper coaches, we've got a thing where I think every player should have their own goalkeeper coach, like a caddy sort of thing that sticks with you. Whereas if you're at a club, like for example, I was at Rangers, the manager gives a 3-year contract, he got sacked, a new one come in, so the goalie coach went from being all over you, a new manager come in, didn't even want to speak to us. So I think you need somebody there in your corner. Even now, like at the top level, if you get dropped from Man City, say like for example Joe Hart, if he gets dropped from Man City, who's he got in his corner to help him get back? He needs somebody who's going to work on the things that he got dropped for, or why Guardiola didn't want him. Instead, it's just like the goalie coach just works with the new number one and forgets about you. So I think you need somebody there. Whereas from my experience of a lot of goalie coaches being whatever the manager goes with. If the manager likes you, he likes you. If he doesn't, they just wash their hands of you. And I've seen it happen to a lot of players.
Yeah, I mean, I've just started my journey from a goalkeeping coach perspective, and I'm helping out devs at Hashtag and doing all that. From a goalkeeping coach perspective, what sort of a coach do you want? What characteristics do you want in a goalkeeping coach to help you?
Have you back and want to improve you. Every session you should improve. Even 34, I'm not playing now, but every time I go at the pitch, I feel like I want to improve on something. Whereas in my career, all of my experience is goalkeeper coaches putting drills on and doing the same drills, mainly not game related, and it was just about half volley, stuff that doesn't happen. So I had about 10,000 half volleys in my career, but I don't remember getting a one in a game. I said to my brother, I got one and from 30 yards and I dropped it. I think because I just thought, oh, it's too easy. You do half volleys all the time. But I think improve you every day, speak and have a good relationship, have your back. Goalkeeper coaches at a level could say, I've got to be seen to be going with the manager, but always remember, I've always got your back. I'm always want to look after you, but they don't do that. They just wash their hands of people. So for me, it's about they've got to improve you. I think goalkeeper training. I think now at the top level, it's goalkeeper trainers, not goalkeeper coaches. I think they put drills on. It's not about improving players. So I think the development's more. But as a goalie, every day you should improve on something. So I think there should be a lot more coaching involved. There's guys at the top level, you don't want to name names, but they can't use the left hand for saving the ball, really. They're very predominantly right-handed. They can't kick the ball with the wrong foot every day, but that's what we want to do. Look, we're not coaches. We want to come in and change little parts of your game that make a massive difference. Mainly it's distribution, but we do crossing and little things that we can change can make a big difference. But we do get a lot of opposition from goalkeeper coaches.
Yeah, I mean, that's my next question is around that Instagram, social media. goalkeeping element of it. What's your impression of goalkeeping Instagram that's out there at the moment?
Well, I think obviously there's a lot about. They're just desperate to do stuff for the camera, desperate to be influencers, and I say we've started this mainly to help. We had to do things to get a following and stuff, but we've done it to be a really change goalkeeping the way training is. Like everything we do is about my career, and the coaching I never got, the training I never got. Everything was unrealistic and not game related. The lack of advice I got and everything. So now mental health's a massive part for us, because goalkeeping, your job's about dealing with pressure, and we want to work and give advice and show people what the best advice as well is that the best point is nobody's too talented to be a professional, and nobody's not good enough to be a professional, because I've seen amazing talent never make it as a professional player, and I've seen guys playing at the very top level who are quite unnatural. So for us, it's all about, if you put the work in and you get the advice that we can give, I think anybody can be a goalkeeper now.
Did you, in your career, did you see a shift in the coaching that you received from when you started?
No, it was the same from start to finish. Volley, half volley, nothing. So everything we do now, we'd never hit a dead ball. We never do volley, never do a half volley. Everything's just what happens. If you watch the session I used to do at Rangers, for example, 95% of the balls would be caught. Whereas if you watch our session now, everything, we've got one of the best. We've got a kid on who's one of the best strikers of a ball you'll ever see. It's so hard to ruins your confidence, but it's all parries in areas. It's all catching. It's never like just volley into your hands. It's always really difficult balls. Handling for me is little crappy balls that you have to move your feet and scoop, and little ones you have to sweep your feet away from you. It's not volley, half volley. It just doesn't happen. And you see like high profile clubs and national teams training, and you see this and it looks nice for camera, but it doesn't happen in a game.
Yeah.
So our section is all about goals and letting goals in and learning. And with a lot of lads, it would ruin their confidence for the first half an hour of the session, but they learn more in that session than they ever have, because doing volleys and half volleys every week it doesn't improve you.
Yeah. Just going back to your career a little bit, you had a spell across in Sweden as well, didn't you?
Did I?
Yeah. Östersunds, was it?
Is it great place, and obviously the manager Graham Potter did an amazing job. But it was bad 4 months.
How was it for you as a goalkeeper and your development?
I don't want to be too negative, but it wasn't great. No, it was a great, lovely little town. Club was great. I think we found out recently that it was dodgy money getting pumped in from the city. So the ex-chairman, is in jail now. Graham Potter used that money, so it worked out well for him. He got his move to Brighton but that's the margins, isn't it? The chairman's in jail. Graham Potter's getting 60 grand a week at Brighton, having an amazing life. Sorry, it's mad, isn't it? But he's a really good manager. But I think it was a lovely town, lovely place, great club. But it was a good place at the wrong time for me. I shouldn't have been anywhere near there. I had things that I wasn't really happy anyway. So I should have stayed here, but I went because I thought it was the chance to go and play there, and then you get a move to a place like EIK Stockholm or one of the other big clubs there. But for me, I played 2 games. I got injured early. I wasn't well, and then that was me finished there. And I just last 4 months, it was horrible. But it was a really good place, and it's a good club.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting you to say, it was a really good experience. It helped me develop. It did all this sort of stuff, but I suppose it's an experience, and it's a learning experience anyway.
Oh God, it was it. Well, it does everything. Doesn't make you stronger, doesn't it, at these times? But I was living in a hotel, and felt not wanted there. No, it was horrible, really, for me, and being away from your family. And then you know what it's like if you're not involved. If you don't have a good game, you become a bad person, and people look at you in a different way. And I think especially for goalkeepers, because there's very little chance of you coming back into it. So, no, it was torture.
Yeah, I suppose that's the other thing that people don't realise as a life as a professional goalkeeper. So sometimes it is life out of a suitcase. You go live somewhere else different, and it's a big upheaval for you.
Well, exactly. It's not easy, and your job is to deal with pressure. You can't go about running about and take these things out on the other team, and you've just got to wait for other people to bring you into the game. And it's a really hard job. It's all how you look at it. But the biggest problem is if you think too much, it can absolutely kill you. So, but yeah, it is. It's going to Sweden and being there and feeling not wanted and not being in the team. It's really lonely. But I had to stick it out and did 4 months. So it was. But it does. You obviously take little things from it, but it wasn't the experience that I expected it to be.
Because you also took a year out in your career as well to go across to the States and coach goalkeepers in the States, didn't you?
No, that's what I don't know why people think that, but I had about 3 breaks in my career of about a year, 2 years I had out, 2 separate years, and I had a 6 month and a 4 month out of the game just because I was disillusioned with it. I was fed up. I didn't go to America to coach. I think after I left Rangers, I was paid off, so I just had a year out of the game and played tennis and spent some time with my family down in Sunderland. So it was no, it was. But I went to the States for a few weeks before I joined my next club. But now after Rangers, I was just fed up with it, and I turned down a couple of clubs in Scotland, some good clubs, because I just wanted to be out of the game.
I need to have a word with my researcher then. There's a rogue article on the internet.
Loads of people said the same, so I don't know where it's come from. I think the club that I signed for next said something about why I couldn't go back for pre-season early was because I had commitments in the States. But I was no coaching there. It was obviously that would get us into trouble anyway, I think. But it's no, I had a few breaks. It's not normal. Most players in the game would never have more than a month off between clubs. But for me, I had a year out twice, I think, and then I had a 6 month out and a 4 month out.
So, how did the decision come to retire? Because you just come off the back of a good season.
I know I haven't retired at all. It's
okay.
I just want to concentrate on the business, and I've not exactly put out a statement saying I'm retired or anything. But now I don't miss it one bit. Don't miss anything about it. And all my focus is on now is helping the next generation. And I think we've got all these talented players coming through in England. I don't think we've got one goalie that's a Joe Hart. I don't think we've got one that's like a ter Stegen type. I think we've got loads of decent ones, but I think we want to bring through the next special one. And I think with the way we work, the way we train, the things we can give young goalkeepers, I think we're really good. I think there's nobody about now who, I think we've got a lot of decent ones, but nobody that's like I said, Joe Hart level. I think he did amazing for 4 or 5 years, but I don't think we've got anybody at that anywhere near that level. I think Ben Foster's the best one at the minute by far, and obviously he's at Watford and come to the end of the last couple of years of his career. But I think technically he's the one who I would say is underachieved because he's so good. Best compliment you can give him, and I think with Joe as well, is you would never ever think that he was 6'5" because of how he moves, and I think that's the biggest compliment. Whereas somebody like De Gea, you'd think he was bigger because his movement's not as good. You'd think he was 6'5" because of his movements. But no, like I say, all we are focused on now is working with the next generation and really producing good ones. But the other thing why I didn't want to play is because we've had really high-profile keepers. We've had one in Serie A who's one of the best goalies in the world who wanted to work with us on his distribution. But me playing in Scotland for a team in the Championship, it's not great for us. I think sometimes it's best to be out the game and be just as distribution specialist and help with the mental side in that. So that was part of my decision, and like I say, I don't miss playing at all.
So, I mean, you touched there on being a distribution specialist. I mean, obviously, the side volley king of Instagram, and you've got the other bits. How did you become so good at that?
Well, for me, I've never ever been coached it, and like I say, it was funny. I was talking to Jordan Pickford about it, and I says, "Oh, how did you start doing it?" He says, "Oh, I couldn't do it at the start. But I just went to the pitch every day and I practiced and practiced. And obviously, left footers have usually got good technique. But for me, the level that I do it at now is the same as when I start doing it at 17. I could do it quite naturally, but now what we've done is we've studied it so much. We've broke everything down and studied it, what I do when I do it and why I do. So like now, everything that we talk about and show is, a lot of people just think it's the complete opposite of what I've been taught. But so now we can look at anybody doing the side volley, and make little changes to make a massive difference. So I love it now. It's so easy to see what they do. And like I said, Pickford's amazing at it, but his level could be even better, I think, because um, he should have the defence shitting himself playing against them, because he's got that much power and great technique. He should have them on a string, but I think even he could improve his side volleys and his level and his consistency. So if he can do it, everybody can improve.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the top goalkeepers now, Alisson, Ederson, stick Pickford in there as well, just for their distribution. It becomes such a key component of their game. The
I
amount
know. I
of
don't think. For me, I don't think you can put Alisson anywhere near Ederson for distribution. I think all round game, Alisson's good. I think he's got amazing mentality, which is the biggest part of his game. But Ederson's just, I've never seen anybody like it. I think his technique, his power is just amazing, isn't he, at what he does? And I don't think any goalie will ever be anywhere near his level for the ball at his feet. I think teams do crap themselves playing against him. I watched him play against Arsenal a few weeks ago on TV, and he nearly set up about 3-4 goals in the game. They didn't know whether to go short, go deep, or press him. They just don't know what to do. And I think when people do speak about Alisson in the same breath, in terms of distribution, I think Ederson's improving massively as a goalie as well. I think he's looking good now, so he's making really good saves, and I think he looks. If he improves he obviously gets even better with his overall play. I think he could be with the best in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you just touched on it there. I mean, there's one thing to be able to do it, but there's another thing to be able to do it in a game and make the right decision in order to then
That's the
execute the
mentality
technique.
side. You could have the best side volley in the world, but if you haven't got the right mentality, you can't use it in a game. You've got to be able to play those balls, and like I say, we always say you've got to earn the right to do the nice things in a game. You've got to do the solid things, and then you'll feel more comfortable about playing a side volley. And we always teach play the side volley into nice areas wide, where if you do get it wrong, it's not going to come straight back on you. So it's little things like that can make a big difference. Whereas I've done before in the first minute of the game, I was feeling quite good, ran to the edge of the box, tried to play a side volley down the middle, shanked it. And you just think, what the heck was I thinking? There was no need to do it. It could have caused a goal, and it's just stupid. So I think if you play wider, you feel under less pressure, and then you play nicer balls. Whereas if you go middle, you think, oh shit, if I don't get this right, they're coming back on us here. So little things like that. I think always play wide with the side volleys, and you've got to earn the right to be able to do them, because it's a nice thing to do. And make sure you're solid in the game. Don't try to do too much too early, and play your way into the game.
Yeah. Right. We're going to finish on some quick fire.
Yeah.
Got a few questions. Right. First one, who was your idol growing up?
Football or tennis? Bartes.
Tennis. Pete Sampras.
Federer.
What is it? Okay.
Amazing.
Bartes. Right. Who's the best goalkeeper in the Premier League right now?
I think Ederson. I really like Leno. I think Martinez has been great lately.
Yeah.
I never expected that. Ben Foster's obviously in a struggling team, but English goalie wise, I think he's the best.
Who's the best player that you've played with?
When I was with Arteta at Rangers, and Ronald de Boer and Frank de Boer, they were all in the same Rangers team years ago, so that was mad. I left college a month later, I was training with them.
That's phenomenal as a 17-year-old.
I know, it's mad.
Best player you played against?
Probably like one of them in training, I'd imagine. We had a lad, Stephen Dobie, played in Crystal Palace,
Yeah. You played for
Blackpool,
Liverpool?
Palace, Swansea. For talent, he was amazing. He could have played at the top level, but really he started his career at 26. He moved to England at 26, lost the weight, and for talent, he was amazing.
Best ground that you've played at?
Ibrox.
Got to be, hasn't it? Really.
Wow, amazing, man.
Can you remember the best save that you've ever made?
Save. I don't know really. I have my brother. He's got all the videos of them from past, but I don't know. I wouldn't really pinpoint one, but there's been some nice ones,
There's been some nice ones.
Right.
Talk us through one nice one. You've got to have one standout save.
I made a good. Oh, penalties are crap anyway. I I don't know, because when I was at Rangers, it was more like my game wasn't about saves. It was more about the overall part of the game, and I just did well there. But I don't know. There's a one that was like Schmeichel one against. Remember when he did it against? Was it Ferencvaros where he scooped it? He dove up to dive down and then scooped it
That's
away.
right.
And I had a good
Bit
header
banter.
I had one like that, but I don't know. I just don't have that many memories of my career now. Like I'm just focusing on what we're doing now, so forgetting about that. Just
Right.
taking all the negative stuff so I can pass it on and make sure these young lads don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah. Right. Last question. 3 goalkeepers that you can have a training session with. They're at their height of their career, past, present, whichever. Who they're going to be and why.
Oh God, Bartes, because he was the most naturally gifted and he had balls and he went and played. He wasn't one of these goalies that just stayed on the line and did the basics, the minimum. I love goalies that are proactive, so it'd be Bartes because of I think he's the most natural I've ever seen. Ederson, because we speak to him and he seems like a lovely guy and he's amazing at what he does. And the last one would be I don't know, Ter Stegen maybe.
I think
Because
that's
I think Ter Stegen's the most, probably at the minute, the most complete. Oh, actually, Rayner's, it seems like, he's Rayner above Ter Stegen because my brother loves him. And I think Rayner was one of the most complete I've ever seen. I think every part of his game, and you wouldn't think he was 6'2", 6'3", the way he moved. And probably he's underachieved the last 4 or 5 years of his career. He shouldn't have been anywhere near the bench at Bayern and AC Milan, especially at Donnarumma. I think he should have been playing, and especially the last few years. So, them three: Rayner, Ederson, and Bartes.
that's and yourself. So that's not a bad 4 training session.
Oh no, it's it, wouldn't it be? I think I'd put myself. I would, for technically, I'd put myself up there with anyone. I think for natural movement, for technique, for kicking, for anything. But it just shows you like your mentality can you can have so much talent and your mentality can bring you so far down. And whereas you get other guys that aren't the most talented, but their mentality takes them to the top level. And for anyone watching, any young lads, it's anybody can do it. Anybody can be a goalie, and if you do the right things and work hard.
It's amazing. I mean, we've spoken to quite a few. I think this is the 12th Tuesday talks that we've done, and every single one of them has spoken in some point about how your mental state affects your game and
Well,
how
you've
important it is for a goalkeeper. But yet, it seems to be such a little focus on it,
I know.
especially for young kids
I
today.
know. For us now, I think the advice is the biggest thing. You can do all the coaching sessions you want, the advice and learning how to deal with it and learn how to deal with the pressure. I never did one session on mentality my whole career. I never got one bit of advice from any goalie coach. I met the Scotland national team goalie coach, Rangers goalie coach, so should be giving you advice and great training. Absolutely nothing, and it's totally neglected. If you think about it in a game, probably 95% of the game you're thinking as a goalie. 5% is probably your actions.
Yeah.
You do nothing on the mental side, and it's totally neglected. And this is what we really want. This is the biggest part of what we do now: is the advice and helping kids deal with the pressure and giving them other avenues to take pressure off the football.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast with Jack Stern, who's the FC
Oh
Cincinnati
yeah,
goalkeeping coach, and he was talking about how does he build that into a training session. So it's like you kind of mentioned it a little bit before. The training sessions are too nice. You know, we finish on 10 clean volleys. Like
exactly.
why? Why?
It's
Why'd you do that?
pointless. Absolutely pointless. I just don't get it. I want to make 50 mistakes and then get the 51st one and make a save. That's what gives you confidence. And that's when you go into a game and think and flipping heck, I came through something there that's harder than any game. We've just bringing out a glove soon, which is a glove that has no grip on. So in the dry, when everything's easy and everything's sticky, how you can't get confidence because it's so unrealistic. So if you have a glove with no grip, and then when you do go and play in a game when it's raining, you think, well, I've been training with a glove with no grip, so in the rain and a normal glove, I'm going to be all right. It's all about taking yourself, making training as difficult as possible for yourself, and then making matches as easy as possible and taking as much pressure off yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned a slippy glove there. You also train with no gloves as well sometimes, don't you?
The slippy glove's harder than bare hands. Bare hands is easier compared to it because the glove is something in between and it is so slippy. Whereas on a dry day, dry hands, it's quite easy. It's easy to time it. So these gloves are an amazing idea, and it's I love training with them. It's a challenge. You kind of just I used to get into bad habits by using my best gloves, training unrealistic training, volleys, half volleys, dead ball strikes, and I'd end up catching the ball there and looking the other way, waiting for the next ball. And it's such a bad habit to get in. I was so natural, but I've got such bad habits in my game and in my training. And it's come from the type of training that I've done. And I just think, what could have been? And I wish I was coming through the way people play now, because I was always, from when I was 7, 8 years old, I was always great with the ball. And when I played, I was never really appreciated. So I wish had this, what I've got, but coming through as a young goalie now. But like I say, I keep on saying, I just want to help the next ones come through and really produce some real great goalies.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's a phenomenal chat and some really good insight.
Nice to speak to you. Nice to meet you.
Right, everyone, I'm sure you all know where to find Lee anyway, but go follow him on the modern day goalkeeper. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.